All right. There was this open, or not open letter, but it's basically more Twitter craziness, right? And more examples of MSM, basically mainstream media trying to take down Twitter. And I guess the big news was some lawyer at Twitter made a long Slack post and detailing all the chaos. And basically, I think he resigned, right?
Did he?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure he resigned.
Well, good. Even if he didn't, he would be fired the next day.
So I think the letter is probably just worth reading.
Read it
Read.
out loud then.
It says Twitter is a remote-first workplace and has operated as such for years. It is a fundamental change to our employment contracts to require a 40-hour-a-week in-office requirement. I do not personally believe that Twitter employees have an obligation to return to office. Certainly not on no notice, if at all. I mean, I feel like we should probably respond to that right now instead of
Well, I
reading
don't
the
know.
whole
Maybe
thing.
in their contract
Yeah.
that says they're not required.
But this is just more, I mean, it just drips with entitlement, right?
Yeah, they basically think they don't have to go to work.
It's actually,
With the amount of money they make, it's embarrassing. Well, they're not running for office, so it doesn't matter the optics of this. But you're not going to win with optics here because all I have to do is I have to just post what all these people make. And trust me, the average American is not going to look at you like and side with you.
yeah,
Like,
that's definitely
I have
true.
to go in to the office. Like, yeah, you make $200,000 a year. Maybe you can go into the office. And they can say, well, it's not like this at Apple or at Google. Like, maybe not. And maybe you can quit and go work at those places. But the fact remains that the average American is not shedding any tears for you. They look at you as a big crybaby. That's how
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
looks.
Yeah. I also remind all tweeps, at least in the US, that we have an unlimited PTO policy. All tweeps are able to take PTO. Perhaps today is a good day to take some rest and recharge.
And as we said, unlimited, what does that mean? You can just take every single day off?
So it's kind of funny because in practice, the companies that have this type of policy tend to be very competitive, even possibly stack ranked, where you're compared against
Right.
your peers, right? And then
Surely you will suffer in some way.
yeah, I
Like
mean, yeah,
if you never come into work and your coworkers come in and work and are productive,
exactly. Yeah,
you're
you'll
not going to get
probably be,
promoted.
or you'll be laid off.
Right.
Just like if the bottom 10% or whatever
Correct.
gets laid off. But I think the kind of funny thing about it is like at Twitter, it Twitter is probably one of the few companies that have a policy like this where I could see people just openly abusing this.
Well, there was that Indian guy caught on Project Veritas who said he worked 4 hours a week.
Oh man.
And, you know, let's not even ask how much he gets paid. Way more than the average American.
Oh yeah. Way
Way
more.
more. Way
Sure.
more.
Yeah. Everyone here should also know that our CISO, or Chief Privacy Officer, and Chief Compliance Officer all resigned last night. This news will be buried in the return to office drama. I believe that is intentional. Over the last 2 weeks, Elon has shown that he cares only about recouping the losses he's incurring as a result of failing to get out of his binding obligation to buy Twitter. He chose to enter into that agreement. All of us are being put through this as a result of the choices he made. Elon has shown that his only priority with Twitter users is how to monetize them. I do not believe he cares about the human rights activists. The dissidents are users in unmonetizable regions and all the other users who have made Twitter the global town square you have all spent so long building and we all love. I'll read, there's a bit more juicy stuff, I guess. I have heard Alex Spiro, current head of legal, say that Elon is willing to take on a huge amount of risk in relation to this company and its users because, quote, Elon puts rockets into space. He's not afraid of the FTC. I've heard another leader in the legal department say that because of the tight SLAs of 2 weeks between product inception to launch, legal will, quote, have to shift the burden to engineers to self-certify compliance with FTC requirements and other laws. This will put huge amount of personal, professional, and legal risk onto engineers. I anticipate that all of you will be pressured by management into pushing out changes that will likely lead to major incidents. All of this is extremely dangerous for our users. Also, given that the FTC can and will fine Twitter billions of dollars pursuant to the FTC consent order, extremely detrimental to Twitter's longevity as a platform. Our users deserve so much better than this. So that's basically it. But this last bit, I call bullshit. This part about shifting burden to engineers to self-certify compliance with FTC requirements. The tone of this letter is, I feel like it's sort of, it's kind of like job justification a little bit. He's trying to make it sound like, without the lawyers, without all these, useless dead weight, that Twitter's going to have a real hard time meeting
It's
their
how, yeah.
regulatory obligations.
When people are fired, they always say, well, good luck without me. I did all this stuff. It's just this typical bullshit. It just sounds like your typical going out the door. Good luck without me. I did so much important stuff here. Kind of thing. Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You didn't do that much important stuff. We all heard the Indian guy say he worked 4 hours a week. I don't think the lawyers are any fucking different. Okay. You guys all hung out at that really, I'll give them credit. It's a really beautiful cafe that's in their lobby.
Mm-hmm.
The baristas who worked there did more work than you. Okay. And they were paid a fraction of whatever you were paid. Although they're probably well paid for baristas, to be fair. You're just whining out the door. Oh, you guys will never do this without me. Hey, you know what Elon will do? He'll probably just hire some lawyers to replace you. What, you think you guys are that scarce? Lots of people have law degrees.
Yeah. Lawyers that he trusts.
Correct. Lawyers that he trusts, not these people who are trying to sabotage everything on Slack on their way out.
Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious. How can you have somebody with this opinion? Well, like Elon has shown that his only priority with Twitter users is how to monetize them. I mean, this guy clearly does not respect Elon, doesn't like Elon. You wouldn't want somebody like this reporting to you anyways.
He doesn't have respect for the concept of business. Monetize the users. You're damn right. I'm here to monetize the users. You guys have done such a shitty job of it.
Yeah.
Look at the stock price of Twitter since whenever. When did it come out?
Yeah.
2014?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe even before, maybe
2012.
It's basically flatlined.
It's been going sideways. Okay.
Yeah.
It should not be going sideways since 2012. Look at the same fucking chart for like Facebook maybe not Facebook now. Facebook right now is
Apple,
Apple,
Google,
Amazon,
Microsoft.
even Amazon is looking great. Right, Google. Right?
Any big tech compared to Twitter has done better. Yeah.
Twitter's just been going sideways, and how? Twitter literally owns its space.
So yeah, actually, as we get deeper into this, I think we'll see why they've been going sideways.
Yeah. Why shouldn't he try to monetize every single person? You guys have been doing such a crappy job of it.
Yeah. So when I first read this, like from a high level, maybe if you're not knee deep in it, it does seem like there are potentially some non-trivial regulatory issues to deal with, right?
Yeah. But
just for example, but I get the impression that Facebook, for example, maybe gets in trouble, or there's kind of this gray area for like, what kind of information can you use to feed advertising, basically, right? Like if somebody goes and likes a post or whatever, there's all these kind of I feel like there's this gray area, and especially in Europe, they have very strict it's called GDPR. It's it's a privacy regulation. It's a very onerous privacy regulation. And so probably, companies of a certain size all need to adhere to this. So it sounds like, there's this really, you do sort of need some of these, lawyers around, right? But then the funny thing is, if you go back and you read how Twitter got in trouble with the FTC in the past, it's like some most embarrassing things. Like, in the 2010 FTC complaint, it was about the main issue was essentially private information was getting leaked, such as your DMs or whatever, right? But then how did that happen? It was ultimately about Twitter not taking the most basic security precautions. So here's a quote from the 2010 FTC complaint. In January 2009, a hacker used an automated password guessing tool to gain administrative control of Twitter after submitting thousands of guesses into Twitter's login webpage. The administrative password was a weak, lowercase, common dictionary word.
Oh wow,
Okay? Like
that's worse than
so
the passwords I use.
so not only did did this page, it didn't have any like rate limiting, so they could just try, thousands of
Right,
guesses.
right, right.
But they just used some, I mean, I don't know, they might have used like, I don't know, cake or I don't know. It's like some stupid
The
uh
password was password. How much you want to bet?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I guess, I wasn't following Twitter. I certainly was not a member of Twitter, so I didn't follow this. But apparently, as a result of this, one tweet was sent from the account of then President-elect Barack Obama offering his more than 150,000 followers a chance to win $500 in free gasoline.
Hmm.
So you probably remember
No, I wasn't really on
more.
Twitter, even though my
Okay.
account is 12 years old technically.
Okay. And then get this, right? So that was the first thing was using, basic password. Now the second one, during a second security breach in April 2009, a hacker was able to guess the administrative password of a Twitter employee after compromising the employee's personal email account where two similar passwords were stored in plain text.
Interesting.
So this is just like pure incompetence, right? Like
Hmm.
this guy left their password in plain text in their email. Their email got broken into, and the hacker was able to get access to Twitter as a result of that.
Right.
So the settlement just required it required Twitter basically just taking basic precautions,
Hmm.
right? Like requiring employees to use hard to guess administrative
Right.
passwords.
Or
That they
even
did
these
not
days, you could use two-factor. That would probably solve a lot of this, right?
probably, but yeah, I mean, yeah, they would. It would. But okay, the other thing I want to highlight from that settlement is that there was one onerous requirement, which is that it's really like it's more than a slap in the wrist, right? It's like a pretty harsh requirement, which is the company agreed that okay, they must establish and maintain a comprehensive information security program, which will be assessed by an independent auditor every other year for 10 years. And for each new or modified product, service, or practice that poses a material risk to the privacy, security, confidentiality, or integrity of covered information, conducting a privacy review and producing a written report for each such new or modified product, service, or practice. So basically what that means is anytime they come out with a big feature, they've got to have some sort of privacy review around it, So for example, I think any changes that Elon wanted to make for Twitter Blue would have to, undergo some type of sort of review. But this is like I think it's an internal, they do it internally and then they publish or they produce a report and I guess that they send that report to the FTC, something like that. So that's a pretty onerous requirement, I would say. But I think what this shows you is like this demonstrates like massive incompetence at Twitter, right? Like all this stuff happened, like this happened in 2010 or before, so that's way before Elon getting involved, right? But it shows you just how incompetent they were, and the fact that there are these multiple security breaches. It feels like it was a systemic / kind of like cultural issue within Twitter, right?
Well, because they're not worried
Yeah,
about either running their company effectively or making money. They're just
exactly.
worried about who's going to win the 2020 election. That's really what they're worried about.
I mean,
Okay.
this is why the company went sideways for so long. This is just more evidence, basically saying
And
this
this is why,
company.
if you can at all, which you can't, because if you're listening to this, you're just a normal person, just like we are. You can't get an investment in Twitter. But if you can maintain some sort of interest in Twitter, you should, because Elon is going to 4x. I know you think it's like even more than that,
Yeah, I
but
think it's even more. I think it's even more.
I would say minimum he's going to 4x it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we compared with Facebook, did we? Whatever
Yeah.
Facebook was to compare it to the takeout price for
Facebook is
Twitter.
like what? Its market cap is like 250. Twitter's
Probably.
market cap is technically 44, right?
Yeah, yeah. Meta is at 300. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
Best case
We'll find
scenario,
it.
he can match Facebook. So put that up to 300.
Yeah.
So that's 12x. I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I think 4x is the minimum of what he can do for it. He just has to run it like a actual going concern, right? Like an actual company that does good
Yeah.
stuff, that thinks about making money.
Yeah, there was a fine in 2022 earlier this year, right? 150 million, FTC fined them 150 million dollars. And this is again like I think the media was is kind of using these things to sort of maybe paint the picture that dealing with privacy at Twitter is this really hairy, non-trivial thing. But then you go and you look at what were they fined for. It was because user phone numbers and emails were somehow involved with advertising, right? And it's just like you don't have to be a rocket scientist to not do that. That's what I'm saying. It's not very difficult to just stop doing that.
Right. So they're just
Um,
incompetent.
yeah, and this whole notion, like this guy in his Slack was saying, making a big deal about shifting the burden to engineers to self-certify compliance, right? I don't. I think he's way overstating how difficult that will be. It's probably like the 80-20 rule probably applies. Like most things, if you're an engineer writing code, you pretty much know, okay, this has nothing to do with private user information, and I don't need a lawyer I don't need to ask a lawyer anything about this, right? For most of the stuff that gets written. And then there will be some smaller amount of code which is dealing with private user information where they will need to, they will
No,
need at least
this is
some
just
team to sort of, they will need like a privacy, team or whatever. Like they definitely have to have that. So they can't get rid of or Elon probably can't get rid of just
all of the
everybody.
lawyers.
And,
Yes, I
yeah,
understand.
exactly. Also, again, MSM tries to paint this picture that Elon's going to have all this, big problems
Right, and it fits
dealing with
their
this stuff.
narrative that everything's a mess there. Everything is a mess, and
Yeah.
I see people jump on this narrative that he doesn't know how to handle Twitter. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Like Twitter is fucking the third biggest company that this guy has handled.
Well, the thing is, people forget that, or I mean, MSM maybe purposely is not mentioning that, Elon founded X.com, slash PayPal, which is an online bank, right? So I think he has some experience dealing with government regulation and privacy issues, right? It's like, if anything, PayPal
He
is
has more
was
probably.
way harder to deal with because you're dealing with bank accounts. I mean, that's like
Right.
way. So Elon's got the experience needed to handle whatever, FTC
Well, I
requirements.
mean, and people buy into the narrative. So I don't know. It's so funny. It's groupthink. It's the herd. It's willful ignorance. I don't know what it is. We see and we laugh at these posts on Twitter. Like there was this woman, the ugly Asian woman with her eyes are too close together. Okay, so saying stuff like, "Oh, this moron Elon Musk doesn't know how to run a company." Blah blah blah. Like, lady, the guy has only produced like $3 billion companies. How many $1 billion companies have you produced? He doesn't know how to run a company? He runs them into the ground. His touch is poison. It's like, if his touch is poison, I would like him to touch me all over my body because you know what? He has freaking turned stuff into gold way more often than I think any other entrepreneur. What are you talking about? What are you talking? How much is Tesla worth right now? How much is PayPal worth right now? How about Starlink? If Starlink was such a shit company, why do people like the Ukrainians whine about lack of access to it? Because it's not a shit company. It's important going forward. It's good.
Okay, wait. We should read this tweet out loud just because it's.
Okay, you go ahead and read it.
So this is from Lindy Lee. Trump ran 6 businesses and our country into the ground. Elon Musk just warned Twitter employees that, quote, bankruptcy isn't out of the question, quote, unquote, after just 13 days of his leadership. Different sociopaths, same potential for destroying everything they touch.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, see this. This is first of all, it's retarded because Trump has run how many companies and 6 of them went bankrupt. Okay. Companies go bankrupt. I mean, this is not hey, every single company I start is a super success. That's not how it works. That already shows that you don't know anything about business, okay?
13,000 likes on this.
Of course. And to conflate that with what Elon is doing, him being in charge 13 days is not a dig against him. Like that means he took on a failing company. What could he
Also,
have done in 13 days to make it go bankrupt? Nothing. He's just pointing out the reality of what he's inherited, okay? And what he
right.
unfortunately bought at a premium.
Also, I mean, just this idea that, I mean, I think Musk is gonna obviously do his damnedest to not let Twitter go bankrupt because he just sunk a ton of money into it, right? He is like the most incentivized person to not
Correct.
let Twitter go bankrupt. I mean,
Correct.
yeah. So
It's
to
a
just
$44 billion bet.
yeah. Uh,
And here's another thing. These people are so either they understand the cycle of how you just say stuff and it's just forgotten. You know, I mean that Twitter account named Defiant L's wouldn't exist if people weren't retarded like this. They just know they can say stuff and then just say the opposite thing later. Okay? There's no need for consistency. There's no accountability. So she can just say this right now, and when Musk turns this company around, doesn't matter. It's forgotten. Her dumb comments are forgotten. She could just disavow them, or doesn't even have to disavow them. Ignore it.
we should save this one for Defiant L's later.
We will. We will. Yeah. But she can just ignore it. But either A, she knows that she can just sort of backtrack or ignore it or flip, or, and this is even worse. She's so stupid that she thinks that this is a smart tweet and it will remain a smart tweet. Like, uh, Elon Musk is just he's just bad at business. Hey, this guy is just bad at business. So if I make a tweet talking about how bad he is at business and how everything he touches has the same potential to turn to poison, it's just gonna look great. 12 months from now, 24 months from now, 48 months from now, it's just gonna look great. You'd have to be a stupid person to make that bet. I can't say it any other way. You'd have to be a stupid person. Why would you bet that a person who has created this many billion-dollar companies is totally just going to fail on this one? Why would you make that bet? I don't understand.
Well, I think it shows that, not all. Apparently, this woman went to Princeton.
Well, either she's stupid and is making that bet because she's just not even considering things. She just believes this narrative wholeheartedly, or she doesn't believe it and she just knows she can backtrack when it's necessary, right? Those are the two possibilities.
Okay, yeah, it's got to be the latter because we know she got into Princeton and she's an Asian, which means that
No, she
makes
could
it
still
even
be
harder.
stupid. She could still be stupid.
She could, but
Yeah. I know you don't want to think it's true, but it's possible. She
but
could
yeah,
still
but
be
okay.
stupid.
But of the two possibilities, I guess I would have to say the second one.
It's more likely that she's not stupid and she just knows that she can say something outlandish right
Yeah.
now and get traction. And then when it comes time for when he turns Twitter around, this is going to be ancient history. Her tweet will not be remembered unless we make sure that Defiant L's posts her, which we will.
We should have a to-do
Yeah,
list.
she's not accountable. Yeah, she's not accountable for it. She's very similar to you don't watch sports, so you don't know about this, but if you watch sports media, you very often run to sports pundits who declare things with great passion and certainty. So and so is washed up. So and so is bad. This, and that. Well, I mean, they're right about half the time, but they're wrong about half the time. That's just the way it is in sports, right? You can't, you can't tell the future. So
Mhm.
making any sort of strong declaration is going to mean you're going to end up with egg on your face maybe half the time.
Mhm.
If you're super good at prognosticating, maybe 40% of the time, but you're going to get egg on your face because any sort of strong prediction or declaration, it's just, well, you can be wrong. Everybody can be wrong.
So maybe this is just political punditry.
Yeah, it's similar to sports punditry, but on the political side. If she's intelligent, she knows there's a good chance that this take is going to look stupid as fuck in 2 years. But it gets clicks right now. So that's why you make it right now.
Yeah.
And I can't argue with that. Probably, I mean, she has a big following.
Yep.
So
It's
it
like
has
200 something, 250K or something like that.
right. So it has
Yeah.
quote unquote worked. You can't argue with that. Always remember that sports talking heads are wrong about half the time,
Hmm.
but they speak as with great conviction as if they're going to be wrong almost never.
Not
Well,
like
even
this.
Musk acknowledges it's possible for them to go bankrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not the gotcha that the left seems to think it is. Like, okay, yeah,
They really latched onto
it's like
that,
he just
right?
said it's possible to go bank. Everything could go bankrupt.
Yeah,
Tesla could go bankrupt.
yeah.
Amazon could go bankrupt. Everything could go bankrupt. And clearly, the Twitter that he inherited is not an Amazon. It's not sitting on very strong footing. And
Mhm.
then we're entering an economic downturn, or not even entering, we're in it. So saying that is just embracing reality.
I wonder if there's more detail in their annual reports or quarterly reports about their, relationships with advertisers. Like it
Right.
kind of seems like maybe they just had a few, advertisers that they worked with that they were getting a lot of revenue from, and so once they pulled out, probably, so they're kind of vulnerable, right? That's what it sounds
Yes.
like.
Oh, well, this is why you have to respect his attempt to try to have independence from advertisers.
Yeah, yeah.
They need
So
it.